Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production for Gorcom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out big important news. If you believe in the overwhelming need to reduce the carbon footprint in the manufacturing of all goods we use every day, then you're going to love this interview with HPQ Silicon, because they're a tech company specializing in a new and revolutionary green energy processes for silica and silicon material production, which is abundant all over the world, but also one of the worst pollutants per ton on the planet. Now, over the past several months, HPQ has been making waves with their groundbreaking advancements in green engineering processes, which is evidenced by multiple NDAs with leading manufacturers in the fumed silica space. That's just one of their verticals that they're going after. What's fumed silica? I didn't know either, but what I do know now, it's used in cosmetics, toothpaste, and anti-caking agent in powdered foods, so it's used everywhere. It's a massive market, $1.3 billion in 2022, and the specialty silica market is expected $13.4 billion by 2030. And the company's announcement today, independent analysis by McGill University confirms HPQ Fumed Silica reactor materials commercial quality. That's unbelievable. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's go to the quote first, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You say this is a major milestone for HPQ. The results not only validate that we can make commercial grade fumed silica directly from quartz in one step.
You forgot hydrofolic. You forgot hydrofolic, which is the makes the higher value.
Yeah, just kind of, because a lot of people can say, what's hydrofolic? But hydrofolic fumed silica in one step. And here's the bolded part, but also represents a clear indication of the test results we expect from the numerous parties who have requested samples under NDA. So first of all, how big of a major milestone is this? Because you say major milestone. And then I want to discuss the second part of your quote.
Well, it's fundamentally a massive milestone in the sense of allowing us to communicate. We've been saying that we've been doing this, but there's always a skeptical until you get an independent analysis. So now it's done. Now we have a technical data sheet, which is actually going to allow us to start entertaining even more discussion with more potential people that are going to want our material. Remember, we're going to have the greenest fumed silica. So we're going to be able to get a green premium on our material, because right now, if you go by the numbers, traditional fumed silica is 8 to 17 kilograms of CO2 per kilogram of fumed silica, and ours is 1 to 2. So that will play the entire value chain. Fumed silica is a middle product. Basically, you use it to make other materials great. And the carbon footprint gets added on to the client. So, if producer A makes fumed silica, buyer A buys his fumed silica, makes toothpaste out of it. Well, the carbon footprint of that toothpaste manufacturer includes that one. Well, so at the end, all of these big companies have a stated goal of reducing. So of course we go there. Canada can't meet this GAS targets, but with bringing our type of technologies, we can end up cutting the massive amount. We've indicated this multiple times in different press releases, basically created crescendo to this point, which is now we have commercial. We know that at lab scale we make commercial grade fumed silica, and we also know what's going to be the results from the guys doing the analysis at the NDAs. The analysis are not different. You can't come up, they can't come up and tell us it's not going to be the same.
This is what the guys under NDA, the three parties NDA right now, that they're going to come up with 87 to 90% less energy. And
no, that's not what they're going to come up to. George, that's not what they're going to come up to. That's not what they care about. What they care about is a technical data sheet. Okay, what they care about is our surface area. I wrote there in the press release, they're carrying it, they'll know it's hydrophilic. Why? Because that's a high value material. High surface area between 135 and 185, which increases the value of the material. And it's an excellent thickening agent. We meet those three criteria. They'll know it. But they also know that, and that's there and there, because we don't use the pyrolysis, the pyrolysis process. Yeah. There is no hydrogen chloride generated. So there's no hydrogen chloride in our material. Not that there's that much, it's less than 0.02%, but there is still some in it. Okay. So our material is zero, which clearly demonstrates that our material was done using plasma. That is massive. Okay. So, it's like sort of a play on word, but we know what they're going to get like results. We know what they got like results. But it's under NDA, it's their results, not ours. This is our results. We can't publish their results, but we can publish our results.
All right, so let's get to some of the numbers because I really want to get to the dollar numbers. But first, compared to the conventional processes, your fumed silica is going to use approximately 90% less energy and approximately 88% less in CO2 equivalent emissions. Okay, people at home are wondering, that sounds great. That sounds like a massive number, but what does that really mean? So you gave us that number, and I want to expand the math. In Europe specifically, you're saying traditional producer of fumed silica could potentially reduce their carbon tax cost by around 630 euros per ton. Okay, that's a great number. But now the question is, George Com fumed silica and the top 5 fumed silica guys in the world, how many tons do they produce per year? Ballpark. I know
ballpark,
you may not
it's going to be between 75,000 a year to 125,000 metric ton a year. Ballpark. The top players, and then, other players are going to be smaller.
Okay, wow. Okay, so let's be in the middle then. Let's call it 100,000 tons per year at $630
euros.
So 100,000 times 1,000 would be 100 million. 630 would be 63 million euros. Yeah. Right? Yeah. 63 million euros per year. And if I convert that to Canadian, you're somewhere around 95 or something like that. I would, if a quick math, 95, 100 million.
Roughly order of magnitude. Okay. We can save.
That's massive.
We can save in the carbon tax issue. Okay. We can save a producer of doing, let's say, hypothetically 100,000 tons, 63 million euro per year. If he does 50,000, it's going to be half of that. It's going to be like 32 million, 32.5. Okay. That's just the tax rate.
It's a massive number. If George Silicon can save, Fumed Silica can save 63 million euros a year just from HPQ Silicon, then this becomes
just from using our technology to use our technology to make their material. Now, is that going to be done through licensing, joint venture, offtake agreement? That's all open to discussion. But it is very clear that just there. And then if you go to the energy footprint, well, there's 3 things that our process can do. Okay, first of all, we'll make a value-added product by being green, which means we can sell it at a premium price. 1. 2, we reduce the carbon footprint, ergo the carbon tax, massively. 3, we reduce the energy consumption by a very significant number. How big are those numbers? Probably in 2 to 3 times bigger than the ballpark, because it's more than 90 euro a ton of energy cost to make it. We're talking about needing, you can make the calculation you want.
So you're telling me that 630 euros per ton could double to 1,200 euros per ton, 1,300 euros per ton if you add in the energy savings.
George, in the press release, we clearly said, okay, energy represents the largest variable cost of making traditional fumed silica. Think about this. This is an industrial process that started in 1944. I'll go back to the QRR, okay? I was all excited the fact that we could cut down from 6 tons of raw material to 4, cutting down 25% the feedstock. That could translate into 10% OPEX reduction, okay? This is not what we're talking about. This is why I'm saying this is a rupture technology. This is a disruptive technology. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a time before how fumed silica was made and after. Okay? And that before and after time is going to occur in the next 6 to 12 months. That's what this press release means, okay? We've demonstrated that you can use plasma under a patented process for a fumed silica reactor to produce fumed silica. There is a before and after. Like we're just in the transitional period of the disruptive, okay? But this is where it is. And in the previous press release, we said we can be disruptive for this big market and the precipitated silicon market too. So it's just the beginning, okay? So even there's going to be tons of people saying, "Oh, how are you going to get the money for this? $63 million euros in tax reduction. Your biggest variable cost can be cut by 80%." It's not going to be difficult to make the math to do this. The other beauty of our system, okay?
Yeah, our back of the napkin math here, if you add in the energy savings, is ballpark for George Com, Fumed Silica, the average producer that for the gold market, it's 100 to 150 million euros a year in savings.
Yeah,
let's call it 100 million even. This becomes that alone makes this incredibly valuable technology at this point. More valuable than I got to tell you thought.
And the funny part is in HPQ, okay, in the value proposition of the company, I think this was given probably the lowest value. I've been trying to bring it forward because I knew this. It's like it's not a secret to me. I knew the results. I knew where it was coming, but until I had an independent laboratory validated, we sort of worked in reverse in this case. Usually what you do is you get the independent report to do it. But because fumed silica is such a specialized material, we needed to get samples from multiple different commercial material to be able to test it against. So we did the NDAs, we did the work, we got samples, and then we published our own results. So this is it.
And is that why you publish your own results? Is that why from McGill you got these independent results? Or you almost setting a message out to the market saying nobody can tell us we're publishing independent confirmation?
No.
So there's no question now as to what HPQ Silicon can deliver.
That wasn't the question mark. The question mark is that when you do work under NDAs, okay, the analysis done is the propriety of the company that does the analysis. Okay? So we're not allowed to publish their results. It's just normal. So we have to do our own results, own testing. This is our own testing, you know, Pyro paid for it, but it was done by a university. It's certified by a chemist. It's just normal business practice. It just now is the right time for us to come and say this because everything becomes very, very clear. It's funny because when we started the discussion, you know, like it's funny, in May of this year, we issued a press release when I think I used the word disruptive or game-changing, and it got one of the regulators, Buffy, saying I was being overly promotional. And that's just because I was saying we're going to cut it down by more than 50%. Now, you know, this press release was vetted by Cyro, the ex-IROC. You know, they had no objection to it. And I'm basically saying, no, it wasn't more than 50%. It's
88 to 90%.
84 to 88%. 84 to 88%. We had said 50%, and we had thrown numbers. The magnitude of numbers of tons of CO2 that can be eliminated worldwide by shipping after our technologies, you know, means, you know, every one of those funds that claim to be green fund, companies that want to reduce, instead of buying trees in the Amazon that doesn't really work, maybe they should invest in HPQ and getting us to commercialize this and move forward. You understand the magnitude of what we're doing, and it's demonstrable. Okay. So it's just starting. This is going to be something where I'm going to have to go out and preach and tell investors this is what we have. This is what you have. And within HPQ, with 3 initiatives.
Is it more important for you to tell investors that, Bernard, or is it more important for you to telegraph this to the industry and saying, hey,
the industry
now know what we can save for you? George Com Silicon, we know we can save you 100 million euros a year ballpark, maybe 70, maybe 150, just on average. somewhere around 100
It's
million
gonna be
euros.
it's
Let's talk Turkey, because that's the next step. I don't know what the next step is. We can't ask because you're under NDA, but
Mhm.
I'm assuming when you put out these kind of numbers, these kind of results are independently verified, and
Mhm.
you're moving towards some kind of commercial. You've got
Well,
commercial, obviously. You've got commercial plans. I don't know how long or how big, but can you talk a
mhm.
little bit about, does this now drive you towards commercialization, towards having discussions, or what do you do? What do you do from this point?
We've always been driven toward commercialization, but we get as a public company into sometimes in the position where, um, you know, we sort of have at least to tell our investors and tell the market where we are, and basically this is where we are. Commercialization discussion are starting. And with this out, they're probably going to be increasing because I had discussion with people that says, send us a technical data sheet, and then maybe we want to have some offtake agreements and those issues. I have some people in Asia, at least in 2 different countries in Asia, that were waiting for a technical data sheet to be able to say, okay, let's start discussing. In Canada, what do we do? I think we consume 24,000 tons per year of this material. There might be Canadian clients that might be very interested in being able to say, "Oh, I'll have a Canadian made material. It won't be imported from another place." So it's the commercialization is starting now, even before we will get to the pilot plant. I believe that whoever comes dance with us first and fastest will probably have the best deal around. But if they wait until we validate the scalability, the price is going to keep going up because the risk is going to reduce itself. And people have to understand, okay, the scaling up risk is probably the things we control the most. And the reason why I say this is one of the main reasons why I've partnered up with Pyrogenesis as opposed to doing it myself. That's something I've learned, is that the biggest risk in developing a new technology is how you scaling up. You have to have a pathway to scaling up. Pyrogenesis had an expertise of taking something from lab scale to commercial scale multiple times. And HPQ now has some experience of going to lab scale to pilot scale and validating the scaling up. Now, in this case, we're not taking the same strategy we did for the QR, which was a 2,500 scaling up. No. At this moment, I just need to have a very good size system, because the way Fumed Silica is a very high volume, very light material. Okay. So it will actually be more efficient for us to have multiple smaller systems doing it and having a big, massive plant. First of all, it reduces the capex, allows us to generate revenue. So this is what we're doing. So it's much more control where we're going. And I have zero doubt that once we scale up, we will make even better quality Fumed Silica. And I say this out of experience. I remember some fudster used to be making a big story about the fact that, oh, you guys barely made 2 ends with the Gen 2 QR, the QRR. At the end, we've demonstrated we almost make 4N with the scaling up version. So the same thing is going to happen here. So every time somebody's
You're almost there now. If you're reducing, if you're reducing CO2 by 84 to 88%, I mean,
yeah, but that's just related to the
you get
energy
to
savings.
90 to 95. Like it seems like you've really hit the nail on the head right now.
Well, no, but this is something where we hit it on the head is this. Okay, we've been saying this pretty close to the same story since 2021. I even got an article in the Globe and Mail, okay, about a Canadian company looking at greening manufacturing of material. There's an article in the Globe and Mail that was published saying the thing is we've done it, we've demonstrated, and we're now at the part where we're starting the commercialization. That's what people have to understand. You've invested in HPQ. HPQ said we were going to do this. We are doing it. We've done it. We've demonstrated. Okay. And the value of this, you guys make the math of the values, but it can be anywhere else. And I wouldn't like it's going to take one person that says we can't let this technology go to come and pay the real price.
Look, I'm gonna do my own back of the napkin math. If I'm George Calm Fumed Silica, and I think you can save me 100 million euros a year, for the next, let's call it 10 to 15 years, because maybe inevitably there'll be a new process that comes back. I don't know. I say 12 years. I mean, that's worth a lot of money to me.
And
Right?
remember,
That's
carbon
a lot
taxes
of
in
money to me.
Europe, carbon taxes in Europe double or triple almost every year, a few years.
So the 100 million I'm potentially saving in 2024 could be 130 million in 2025, 180 million in 2026, 225. That's right, because I mean we've seen Justin Trudeau's carbon tax. They're supposed to scale up pretty quickly. So,
but in Canada, even if the carbon tax goes the way of the dodo for a little while, the energy savings are going to be so massive. And the fact is that we will be producing a material that is so low carbon footprint, almost like one for one. What was it? I heard the aluminum companies were going gaga. We're trying to cut it down from 3 to 2. We're going to be at 1. They were at 8 to 12. And the number the number 7 we're using, okay, assumes 8 minus 1. But you take 17 minus 2.5, okay. That's a bracket number. That's the lowest number. But you take 17, which is a number that's real, minus 2.5. That's 14.5 multiplied by 630. That's $9,000 a ton. I got it right. Yes. Oh no. Okay. I see my mistakes. Not 630. Yeah. It's 90. Okay. So let's do the math again. 17 minus 2.5.
14.5
minus 90. That becomes $1,300 a ton. So the CO2 savings are in a range between $630 and $1,300. That's just carbon tax. But it's the same saving when it comes to the energy, because the reduction in the CO2 footprint comes to the fact that we need a heck of a lot less energy to do this. Remember, the traditional process to make fumed silica, you start with quartz, you convert it into silicone metal 2N, then you go through a whole series of process. It's the key message, the key point where people, I think, could have kept pouncing on us. You don't have an independent valuation. Now we've showed it. We have a technical data sheet. We have this first product. We have a track record of doing something at lab scale, validating at pilot scale. We're going to repeat this here.
I'm just going to spitball here, but these numbers are turning out to be potentially so big that, do you think about spinning off the fumed silica into its own company?
That's always been sort of first of all, it's already in its own company.
Yeah, under Polvera, right? But I mean, as a public, its own.
Well, it could listen. The options,
its own funding and everything.
The options we have are multiple. We can keep it as a private company and get people to buy equity stake into it that will give it a valuation, but keep it as a private company. We can go public. We can dividend out. We can. Right now, the goal, the message with this is we have the good. We validate it independently. We're starting its commercialization. I think over the next 12 months, we should start to reflect. We will move to reflect the valuation that represents.
I got to tell you something. We're going to end it here, but I got to tell you something. The fumed silica side, it feels like that horse in the horse race that was at the back of the horse race, and everyone's focusing on QRR. That not that QRR is still in the horse race, but all of a sudden, fumed silica did a secretariat and just blasted to the front and is like 5 lengths ahead of a very impressive other horses. It's not that the other horses are slow. But man, fumed silica has just come out of nowhere.
I'm not sure if I should go use it. Horse analogy, I've been
attractive.
For me, it's been there. That's why if you go on an investor deck, I talk more about fumed silica, because the pathways to commercialization, okay, are simple.
Faster.
Okay. QRR we're looking down at cutting cost and making higher purity material. It's in cutting the CO2 emission. That's nice. Fumed silica. Okay, so it is like the QRR is a great next step in the product, but is it really disruptive? Borderline. Fumed silica meets a definition of disruptive. There'll be a before and an after. That's why for me it is the key item for us to commercialize. And we have so many other things. So HPQ and its entire bulk of its valuation. You know?
Well, Bernard, I think I speak on behalf of everyone, my friend, when I say this is a pretty important press release, pretty powerful press release. The independent verification, now knowing some numbers where you're giving us the 630 euros per ton just on the CO2, doesn't even include the energy savings. I mean, gives everyone a lot to think about. And that's all I can say. I mean, I did some back of the napkin math really quick while we were talking, but everyone's got to do their own math. But here we are at the beginning of November. I keep asking you things like this. Just on fumed silica alone, do you think we're gonna see you back? I know we're gonna see you back again, because for the love of God, I do a couple of interviews with you while I'm on vacation in Greece in August. The way things are accelerating, do you think we might see more out of the fumed silica side before the end of the year?
Yeah.
All right.
That's the plan.
Good enough for me, my man. Thanks for joining us, Bernard. And again, on behalf of all the shareholders, congratulations on a great milestone, and thanks for advancing the company really strongly. This is giving us all something.
I think
really exciting
every Canadian shareholders that likes HPQ should send a copy of this press release to their M&A, talking about Canadian companies that are really cutting down the CO2. I think you should send it to all the green journalists that you know. Just blast it out, guys. We got to get known. It's time for people to realize that in Canada we've developed technology to cut massively CO2 emission. So as our politician yap about doing it, we are actually making it.
And the great thing is, you're known in the most important place, at least to me, and that's in the industry, because you've got 3 NDAs with 3 of the top players in fumed silica. They're clearly
too big, and the other one doesn't want me to mention anything about this size.
All right, so 2 big, and 1 that may be really big, or maybe just me that signed NDA with you, and nobody knows it. But let's assume it's 2 and probably 3. But that's the most important thing. And I got a feeling they've all seen this press release today. They've all huddled around the table somewhere and say, "All right, guys, what does this mean? Let's figure it out." But congrats, Bernard. You never cease to amaze us, and 2023 has been an amazing year for all the legs of the company. But man, like I said, fumed silica just raced out of nowhere, and it's going to be exciting to watch, to see how fast and how far it finishes, my friend.
Thank you.
Everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. To Bernard Tudillon, CEO of HPQ Silicon, trades in Canada, HPQ, trades in the US, HPQFF. Start your due diligence on Agoracom, because there's a lot to absorb here. Then hop over to the HPQ website. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agoracom? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agoracom small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.